placed the stent. Was it into the left anterior descending or the right?
After seeing how much a single animal-based meal can affect healthy young athletes, I couldn't help but wonder what a lifetime of these foods might have done to my father's heart.
In all of our studies, we found the same thing. These same biological mechanisms that affect performance also affect our health. Chronic inflammation, oxidative stress, and endothelial function.
When you eat animal products, you start to form plaques in the coronary arteries. Plaque formation in the arteries doesn't just limit the function of the arteries, it can also block the blood flow, and that's when the heart starts to have some real problems keeping up with the demands of the body.
In terms of heart disease, oftentimes there's confusion. People think that, well, I don't eat red meat, so I'm okay. We know that it's more complicated than that. It's not just red meat. It's not just the fat.
For nearly 50 years, we were told that the primary cause of heart disease was saturated fat and cholesterol, and that leaner meats, lower fat dairy products, and egg whites were the solution. But the research now shows that the other inflammatory compounds in animal foods, like those that can impair athletic recovery, also play a significant role in the development of heart disease.
We're going to do a whole lot better by just getting rid of the animal products. And there are really good biochemical reasons for that. Heme iron is one of them, for example.
Heme iron is from an animal source, right? So most commonly you think red meat, even though poultry have it, fish has it. They did a meta-analysis looking over 6 prospective dietary studies, over 130,000 patients. And they came to the conclusion that 1 milligram a day of heme iron is associated with a 27% increasing risk of coronary heart disease. To put that in perspective, an average hamburger patty has about 2 to 3 milligrams.
And it isn't just the iron in animal foods that can cause problems. It's actually the animal protein itself.
It's not just red meat, not just chicken, not just eggs, not just milk. It's the ingestion of any animal protein. At that moment in time, a process begins at a chemical level inside the body.
When the protein found in animal foods is cooked, preserved, or even just digested by our gut bacteria, highly inflammatory compounds are formed that corrode our cardiovascular system. This helps explain why people who get all of their protein from plants reduce their risk of heart disease by 55%. It would also help explain why the only diet that has ever been shown to actually reverse heart disease is a plant-based one.
What we found is that in the first month, there was improvement in blood flow and the heart began to pump blood more normally. After a year, even severely clogged coronary arteries became measurably less clogged, and even more improvement after 5 years. But in the randomized control group, who were doing just what their doctors told them to do at the time, less red meat, more fish and chicken, little exercise and so on, their arteries got more clogged after 1 year and even more clogged after 5 years.
While all of this sounded promising, my dad didn't just need to get better, he needed to get better fast. The stents in his heart were only a temporary solution. He could have another heart attack at any moment. I found some hope at a firehouse in Brooklyn, where Dr. Esselstyn's son Rip, a former firefighter and professional triathlete, was launching some of New York's bravest on a powerful new program.
What's the #1 killer of firefighters in the line of duty? Heart attacks. 67% of firefighters who perish from the line of duty die of heart attacks. So this right here, that is what we call a healthy artery. The blood can flow through this huge opening here, and this is what happens after decades on the meat and dairy diet. Okay? If you guys have been eating this way, I want you to take the 7-day rescue challenge. We bought you guys plant-based groceries. I want you to give yourselves the chance to see what your internal biochemistry does in just 7 days.
I know my cholesterol's elevated, my LDLs are always very high.
The same job that I was doing like 10 years ago without an effort, without taking an effort.
Despite working out all week, playing sports, my cholesterol's high and growing by about 10, 15 points every year for the last 5 or 6 years. I realized a couple salads a week, it doesn't really cut it.
I got 2 kids, so hopefully I'll feel better, have more energy, and add some years to my life.
I went to see if I could get my dad to make these same changes to his diet as soon as possible.
Well, what are you suggesting?
Well, let's do the shopping.
Tomatoes, cucumber, we have hummus dips, blueberries.
But my dad can be a little stubborn,
Soya yogurt, and that's about it, I think.
so I wasn't feeling that hopeful.
We'll just drink tea.
I come from a town called Melton Mowbray, known in England as the rural capital of food. It's the home of Stilton cheese and the world-famous Melton Mowbray pork pie. The pace of change here is very slow. And my dad, like most of us, is a product of where he grew up. I just couldn't imagine someone as set in his ways as my father making such a big switch.
On the top there, worth another 20 quid, just 50 quid a lot.
Until I got home and went back to the gym.
You push me. Oh, here.
I've spent years working out with Lucius Smith. He was a cornerback in the NFL, has a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and was my strength and conditioning coach.
That's it. More arms,
I told Lou about the research I'd been doing and what happened to my dad. And he'd never mentioned this before, and he said, I've been on a plant-based diet for almost 10 years. Lou is 60 years old, not far off my father's age.
Most guys my age can keep up with the grandchildren. My grandchildren can't keep up with me. When I went from an animal-based diet to a plant-based diet, my blood pressure went down to like 110/70. My heart rate, sometimes it's been under 50, like 48, 47. I'm more focused, I'm more relaxed, and I noticed that I have a lot more energy because of the plant-based diet. Come on, man, come on. People in their 20s, they come in here. We do a workout. I sustain the workout a lot easier than they do. We can come in here and do 800. Listen to what I just said. 800 kettlebell swings and snatches in one workout. They can't make it. I'm not kidding you. They can't hang, man, I'm telling you. They can't hang.
There was another guy my dad's age who had also made a big change.
I ate a lot of meat. I ate my 10, 15 eggs a day. And, I had my 250 grams of protein a day because I weighed 250 pounds.
One and only Arnold Schwarzenegger.
But as I got older and as I started reading up on it, I recognized the fact that you really don't have to get your protein from meat or from animals, as far as that goes. So we started going more in a direction of a vegetarian kind of a diet. Now we're doing it the right way, with the right spices. All of a sudden, I love it much more than the meat. And, the cholesterol went down to around 109. It was the lowest that it ever was in my entire life, at almost 69.
What we eat has a major impact on our health and our well-being in every way we can measure. People who eat a diet that's high in animal protein have a 75% increased risk of premature death from all causes and a 400% to 500% increased risk of death from most forms of cancer, prostate, breast, colon cancer, as well as type 2 diabetes.
The amino acids that come from animal sources tend to make our cells rev up and multiply faster. For example, there is accumulating evidence that high consumption of proteins from dairy sources is related to a higher risk of prostate cancer. That chain of cancer causation actually seems pretty clear.
Cancer has been linked to other animal foods as well. Research funded by the National Cancer Institute found that vegetarians who add 1 or more servings per week of white meat like chicken or fish more than triple their risk of colon cancer.
So it's not one set of dietary guidelines for improving your performance as an athlete, another one for reversing heart disease, a different one for reversing diabetes, a different one for reversing prostate cancer. It's the same for all of them.
As groundbreaking as all of this nutritional science was,